have you back. Many thanks for watching Smart Men's Business. I'm with Barija Andrew here this morning. It's a cold one, very cold.
Very, very cold.
And now we're getting into our own ground conversations. Where are we rotating around this time?
Yeah, this time around we shall be looking at the local air operators, talking about, license fees.
All right.
And of course, the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, of course, the officials say the fees are the least, in the region, according to them. But of course, they really think it could be something very, very ultimate. If the service fees are reduced a little bit, it would promote that is a local air travel within the country, and sectors like tourism are quite, are the ones that will be benefiting quite lots from this particular aspect. Now let's get into this real quick. This is Mr. Fred Bamwesije, that is the Director General, that is the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority. This is what he has to say regarding, of course, responding to the local air operators in the country.
Actually, studies have been done, both in the region and world over. In most of the charges in the international airport and aviation in Uganda generally are competing. In fact, in some cases, they are so low that they need revision. I take an example of this very, very relevant one, the one for licensing. Still very, very, very low, ridiculously low, actually. That we've been leaving it there because we have just come out of COVID, and we do not think that it would be sensitive for us to begin to review and harmonize with the regional charges. But we move on because we understand our industry, and we shall continue to leverage these charges in a manner that moves along with the rest of the public or our aviation users. Otherwise, these charges are actually some of the lowest in the region. Airport charges were even reduced. Remember, starting with July this year, we removed taxes on airport service charge. You don't pay VAT at all. And that was removed, and it lowered the price of the ticket. Yes, I can tell you that because of the size of the industry, we get constrained to mobilize enough money through taxes as our revenues to maintain these facilities. That's why most of the time we run back to government for some of these expansion activities. Otherwise, aviation facilities only charge those charges that are enough for cost recovery. We don't make any profits at all. We are not a profit-making organization. But we must charge those charges that make us operate. Otherwise, you would find some parts of these facilities are not operational, simply because the revenues are not enough. And we would like to encourage the airport or aviation facility users to study these properly. There are also relative costs of investment. Like now, we need to improve the technological capacity of the airports. Certainly, we must invest. Those are really the drivers to these charges. But there are some countries where aviation is big, and you can distribute these charges to a bigger numbers of aviation users. They, of course, they will share, and charges would appear to be low for individuals. The other one you were talking about upcountry airports. Yes, we are operating 13 upcountry airports, but all of them cannot maintain themselves because of the low usage of the facilities. Some of the airports actually can spend a week without anybody landing there. Now, how would we maintain such a facility? So we get our resources, which we should be investing in at times to maintain the whole network of facilities. And that is not exactly good, because that means that those airports are consuming funds that they don't make. Are you getting me? That they don't make. In other words, they are simply a service to the community, a service to the country, without them standing on their own to sustain themselves. And that's how we have been operating. Yes, the government contributes some little funds which are not enough for cutting expanses of grass, for maintaining the runaways at times, but we must inject in more money. For instance, where we want to maintain a runaway, it is a very, very heavy investment.
Over?
Yes.
Over how much?
No, they are not all the same. There are some runaways up country are 1.7 kilometers length, and if you want to reseal it completely, you probably will spend something like 3 billion. And that money cannot be obtained in any of those facilities. You have to get it somewhere, either through government or get it from another facility that has made it. That's how we have been operating. So, charges are not high, and we don't allow them to be high, yet the financial requirements of maintenance of these facilities are so big that at times we are here really cracking our heads to see how we can get money to maintain them.
Well, that is, of course, the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority responding, that is, to the local air operators regarding that is the service fees, licensing fees when it comes to flying within. One of the key aspects, Joram, of country lies in any country. We know that transportation is a very key pillar when it comes to development of any economy, and transportation is wide. There's road transport, railway transport, and air transport.
Sure thing.
But domestic sort of air travels have not really been something very much popular. And well, now some of the sectors which are the possible beneficiaries of this have been affected, like tourism. There are tourists that come in, and you find that they have to travel by actually road, and that is going to cause delays in the transit to their destinations. And some of them, because they're in countries, they have been visiting countries where they have been much more used to air travel, because air travels in some countries like Kenya, people, you can travel, there is a much more established. So when they come to this country, they find it a little bit disturbing on their side. So the local air operators say that if this is really worked upon, it could be something very interesting. The sector could boast, it could also create employment opportunities, because as people are coming in for the flights. But when we've been, according to the statement of Civil Aviation, they say that the license fees they charge are the lowest in the region. So literally it's trying to tell these people that what you're complaining about is not true.
Okay.
So I'm trying to understand what magnitude is he speaking this particular aspect of saying that. And he says that most of the money that they get, that they spend on it is entirely for cost recovery. The fees they charge, they are not a profit-making organization. They are not exploiting anyone, but they are simply saying we don't make profit, but the money we simply charge you is to recover the costs. Well, that entire, when you really look into that, let's zero it down to domestic air travel. Because I feel like we miss out on quite lots of aspects. According to economic analysts, they think it has been observed that if there is mobility of labor, there is easy flexibility of any person, you can travel at any place at any time you feel like. Definitely, chances are high that you will develop as a person.
Wow. And when you look at that kind of situation here, some of the local operators are continuing to express their anxiety and disgrace with licensing recommendations, as they believe that according to what is coming in, they are saying that the recommendations such as poor airfields, there's also costly service fees that continue to strain operations. Then the Uganda Civil Aviation has in turn provided, promised rather, to address their outcry in due course on this same matter. So when you look at the issue to do with costly service fees and poor airfields,
poor airfields
as well.
Because now, like Mr. Fred Bamwesije, the Director General, has been saying, because his entire opinion regarding this has been totally and entirely quite a bit different. Of course, they have quite lots of facilities, and they say that most of this money, some facilities don't make that money, as such that they can really cater for themselves. So you find that they have to get money from the Entebbe airport, to redistribute to that. And sometimes it may not be enough itself, because even the airport, because even the facility where you're picking money to develop another facility needs money to run it. Day-to-day activities need to be exploited. So that in a way becomes a challenge in terms of monitoring all this. So now you find that they have to pick money from the government, to come and put this out. Now, regarding the license fees, I'm trying to understand the realistic of that. If probably there could be some sort of a conflict within the administration of the civil aviation. If the civil aviation says if some officials say that they're going to handle the complaints of the air travelers, and now we see other officials say, but the fees are okay, actually they are the lowest in the East African region regarding that particular aspect. So that brings in a point of now getting back to the local operators. If there is a bit of a conflict within the body that really is responsible for your existence in the country, then that means it's going to be, quite a little bit of a conflict. But anyway, zeroing it down to, taking a look at the possible beneficiaries in case the licenses are reduced, because I believe in most cases the outcry of the people, by the time these people come out and they give out this complaint, probably it's been on for some good time. It's not by accident that more than 3 or 5 people come up and say that it's very expensive. So there ought to be a point of reconciliation. So what if there is a conflict between the civil aviation? Because one thing I know is that if there are two parties conflicting, there should be, each party should have uniform views, what they're saying. But if one party has a different view, if there is a conflict within one party, if some officials in the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority say they're addressing the cries, and if some other officials in the same agency say the fees are standard, they are the lowest, okay, then I really feel a pity for the people that are having a joint cry. That is the local air operators, for that reason. But then, still, we can look at the possible benefits once this is sorted out, because it really speaks out, because we know very well, it's very clear. This is something that you don't even have to go to school to observe about local flights, local flights. And the fact that the pricing, because if you pay a huge license, definitely it's going to be quite, even the person operating has to charge you highly, because they have to really get money from that. Yet local flights, in my opinion, I wouldn't think they should be really as much exploitative as such, like in other countries, to ease work. Like
anyways, besides that kind of situation, from the issue to do with the rather aviation sector, we have a little bit of an update regarding the NSSF board members who have apparently said they shall not resign. And that is the board members, inclusive of the top management, have declined calls for resignation, dubbing a parliamentary probe report into the funds management an advisory document. So they actually saying they won't resign. This is the NSSF board chairperson is Peter Chimbowa, who says that until the appointing authority makes a decision, they are not stepping down because of what the report says.
Well, like I always say, it's very absurd whereby things happen, and it's very clear about the scandalous event that really happened till today, whereby for those people that really serve with NSSF, they're not really certain whether their money is there. Actually, that's very interesting. This is an act of absolute boldness, and trying to show of being shameless regarding that. I don't know. It all comes back to the aspect of the law, of how, you know, of how the constitution of everything. Because if you're a corrupt person and, you know, it's been exposed to the public, there is all evidence about that. Anyway, if they say they can't resign, if they have evidence that whatever was put across them is false, well, if they say those are allegations, as I believe they might say, let them produce the evidence that they need to stay in those offices. That's just my opinion towards them.
All right. And of course, now that is bringing us to the end of Smart Means Business today. The NSF board members are saying they will not step down until the appointing authority says step down, or until the appointing authority says your work here is done, and not the parliamentary
And you know,
report. That is, is not the parliamentary
the parliamentary report
that was filed by the committee that was led by Honorable Mwine Mpaka. So they believe, no, for them they won't step down because they've actually dubbed this as an advisory document. So it's not a report that is actually supposed to be getting them out.
And you know, the aspect of, if they say that if the you know that the appointing committee, I mean, doesn't tell them, do you realize, Joram, that this thing is gonna get bureaucratic in a way that in most cases such instances disappear just like that, you know, before the public, and before we know it, no one is even talking about the incidents. Why? No rule of law. I mean, and the law is not working as how it ought to. That such individuals, how should they be treated in case such allegations come out? You know, and before you know it, it will disappear and probably create another media diversion, and slowly it dissolves and disappears, and people don't. There is no justice at the end of the day. Sad.
All right, and just like Marita Andrew has put it in there, of course we shall be waiting to see why don't people follow the law or the rules that are set aside. But besides it, you've been a very good viewer of Smart Means Business. Many thanks for being with us. It's cold. It's really, really cold. So you really need to have your jacket, your sweater on, and kickstart off your day. But besides that, we wish you a very good day, a very good cold day. It does look like. It seems it will be warm a little bit later on in the day though. But have yourself a blessed one. May God bless you throughout. I'm Jerome and Barija Andrew here. Till tomorrow from 6:30 a.m. till 9:50. Good morning.